Oftentimes when you think of a pickup truck, the words capable, durable, and tough often come to mind. Now those adjectives have always been used to describe the Toyota Tacoma, and when I showed you guys a full overview of the completely redesigned model last year, I was relatively impressed with it. However, since then Toyota has reintroduced the Baja Ready version of the Tacoma. Let's take an in-depth look at this 2017 Tacoma TRD Pro and see if this is truly the most off-road capable truck Toyota has ever offered in the Tacoma lineup. Consistently being a top seller in the midsize truck segment certainly makes the Tacoma a very important model for Toyota. And when the company completely redesigned the Tacoma last year, it was met with a lot of nice responses from most enthusiasts and consumers. Toyota definitely played it safe with the redesign of this version. You really can tell it's different from the exterior of the truck. However, there's a lot of elements on the interior where the company didn't want to stray too far away from the traditionalists who tend to buy this pickup truck. Now you can see the TRD Pro model that I'm showing you is basically the cream of the crop. If you guys remember my review on the Limited, I really liked the truck. It wasn't necessarily the trim level that I would choose. I really wanted to try out a TRD off-road model. The TRD Pro is actually above the off-road model. It essentially takes all the off-road capability of the off-road TRD off-road model, mixes it in with some of the elements of the TRD Sport and some of the interior refinements of the Limited trim level, and it also adds its own unique set of off-road performance enhancing credentials to make this an even more unique Baja capable truck basically. Now you can see the front end, you're going to instantly recognize it as the TRD Pro from this heritage inspired grille. It spells out the Toyota name in the grille as opposed to the chrome emblem that you get on the other trims. You also have blackened projector beam halogen headlights with LED daytime running lights. The Pros also come standard with these LED fog lights that are from Rigid Industries. They actually are really bright. I was really impressed with how much they light up the road when you actually are driving this vehicle at night. Now because the TRD Pro model benefits from a raised suspension, you do have a better approach angle. This truck, you can immediately tell, is wider and sits up taller. It's about an inch taller in overall height than a regular Tacoma, and you can credit the increased ride height from the shocks. These are upgraded shocks. They're TRD tuned Fox internal bypass shocks. These shocks are designed basically so your truck can handle any kind of terrain that you can basically throw at it. They are progressive, fluid-filled shocks with a rear reservoir, and really these shocks are going to protect your shocks from overheating if you guys are actually going to be taking high speed or taking this truck on high speed, off-road trails where the standard shocks may, overheat and blow up because you may have just be punishing them too much. Now, you can see looking around the sides, you have special wheels on the TRD Pro model. These are 16-inch black finished wheels on special Kevlar reinforced Goodyear all-terrain tires. These tires can definitely take the abuse if you guys are actually going to plan to take this vehicle on some rock trails. The Tacoma badging on the door has also been removed. Instead, they put some TRD Pro badges just to let you know that this is a special off-road truck. Now, the TRD Pros only come in one cab configuration, a double cab, which means 4 full-size doors, and a short bed, which means it has a 5.5-foot bed. The TRD off-road model does offer a choice between an access cab, which is the half doors, or you can get a short or long bed, depending on what you guys want to do. Now, out back, the taillights are also smoked. You have special TRD badging, and my favorite feature about the TRD Pro is it comes standard with a TRD-tuned performance exhaust. It definitely gives it a much deeper, richer sound that enhances the more masculine appearance of the TRD Pro. So it has the look to basically back up the capability of this truck, and it's what makes the TRD Pro such an appealing model. Now under the hood, unfortunately, Toyota didn't make any changes. You still have the same 3.5-liter V6, aside from the special exhaust, which makes it sound better. It still makes 278 horsepower. You can take your pick between a 6-speed manual, which is seriously the coolest aspect of this truck, or the 6-speed automatic that my tester gives you. Now, you're probably wondering if the hood scoop is functional. That is functional. It actually does help cool down the engine. They took that from the TRD Sport model. There is no sunroof available on this car like you can get on the TRD Off-Roader Sport. But overall, I think this is one fantastic, handsome looking truck. It looks especially good in this super white color. Toyota only offers the TRD Pro in 3 colors, this white, a cement gray color, or the Barcelona red, which I actually think the white or the cement was probably my favorite. But enough about the exterior. Let's take a look at the inside and see some of the changes that Toyota made for this special trim level. Now, because this is the highest trim level of the Tacoma, their company's smart key access system with push button start comes standard. Here's the current Toyota key fob. It's a relatively good design. It feels a little bit flimsy though in your hands. And you can see my tester doesn't have a remote start. It just has basically 3 simple buttons: unlock, lock, and then the panic button. Now, when you first approach the truck, you can see there's no button on the outside of the door handle. Instead, if you want to lock it, you just rest your finger on this ridge portion that locks the truck for you. To unlock it, there's a sensor on the back of the handle. Just touch it, and that unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the inside of the TRD Pro, you can see there are a couple of elements here that Toyota changed to make it a little bit unique. There's not too much, but the biggest thing you're gonna see, obviously, are the seats. You have these specific seats for the TRD Pro. It comes with black leather. In fact, the Tacoma only offers 2 models with leather. The Limited has a brown leather, or you get this black leather with the TRD embroidered headrest and the red stitching. It's a nice upgrade, although I kind of wish Toyota made even more changes to kind of distinguish this. You can see there's no running boards here because a running board would cut into the ground clearance. Thankfully, it's not terribly hard to get into this truck. I wish there was some kind of grab handle here, but if you are shorter like myself, you can kind of just use the steering wheel and just kind of help yourself get in. But once you settle in, you can see you have a really nice commanding view of the road. You can instantly feel that this truck sits up a little bit higher than all the other trims of the Tacoma. Now, shutting the door, it sounds nice and solid. Didn't really expect anything less. This was an all-new truck last year. Now, to start the vehicle up, just keep the key inside and then put your foot on the brake, push this button here to fire up the engine. And immediately I'm hearing that TRD Sport exhaust, which definitely makes this V6 sound a lot better than the stock one. It's a nice throaty sound that doesn't get overwhelming, which is definitely a concern with an aftermarket exhaust. It's great that Toyota just gives you the TRD Pro exhaust when you buy this truck. Now you can see, looking at the rest of this interior, because this is the top of the line model, everything pretty much comes standard. There's very little in the way of options. You just pick your transmission and pick your color basically and add some accessories. But you can see this is very similar to the Tacoma Limited that I showed you guys last year. The dashboard is actually hard touch plastic on this upper part, but it has a nice graining material. You have some silver painted plastic here, some piano black trim, some nice chrome trim around the vents. This portion here is nice, is actually soft touch. I'm not really a fan of the rubberized texture here, but it's nice that it is soft touch. The rest of the controls down here are also pretty easy to use. There's 4 knobs for the climate control, 3 knobs for the climate control, 1 knob for the 4-wheel drive switch. Coming over to the door panels here, you can see it is soft touch right here with more of that material that I'm not really a fan of, the rubberized material, but it's nice. It's sort of padded down here. They could have made this a little bit softer. They could have stitched this in leather actually. I'm kind of surprised they didn't. It is hard touch plastic there. There's a chrome door handle. The windows are one touch for both the front. That's nice. I kind of wasn't expecting that, especially in this, class. The steering wheel, I kind of wish they also did something different with the steering wheel. I mean, it's leather wrapped, it's nice and thick, the bolsters. I wish the stitching was also contrasting red, like the seats. And I just wish the steering wheel was a little bit more special, like maybe like a TRD Pro badge here and there, just to kind of, remind somebody or remind the owner that this is a special model. The dashboard here also isn't really any different. You have a small LCD screen there, traditional analog gauges. Looking over here back to the center stack, you can see this is the current head unit that I've showed you guys. It's pretty easy to use. This is their Entune system. It's the Entune 2.0, not the most recent Entune systems I showed you in the new Camry. Going to the apps display here, you can see it already comes with navigation. This is Toyota's nav head unit. It's pretty basic. It gets the job done. Nothing super fancy. Android Auto and CarPlay is still not included. Instead, you have to use Entune, download the app, and it'll kind of give you their representation of Android Auto and CarPlay. Toyota is working on adding it. They're still working with Apple and Android on private privacy concerns and whatnot. You can see going to your audio here, it's the typical Toyota interface here. All your presets are right there. The touch response is pretty good. I really like it. It's got, your traditional AM, FM, XM satellite radio. It has HD radio, and then it has your Bluetooth streaming and all that stuff. It's a pretty, intuitive system. It works well. When you put the vehicle into reverse, you get a backup camera with some rear parking sensors as well. It doesn't have trajectory though. It's just a pretty traditional camera. My tester also has the blind spot monitoring with a cross traffic alert. That is standard. That's the only form of driver assistance tech that Toyota offers. There's no lane departure alert. There's no forward collision warning or automatic braking or no adaptive cruise control. Would like to see Toyota eventually offer that. Now, the TRD off-road models actually don't offer the leather. You also don't get the heated seats. You can see there's 3-level heated seats. Toyota took that from the limited trim when they, created the TRD off-road model. It's a part-time four-wheel drive system. It's all controlled from this little selector switch. It's pretty easy to use, honestly. You have to push to go into its low range position, and then put this truck into neutral, and it'll go into low range for you. Down here, you can see it's got dual zone automatic climate control. Toyota added that for this new generation. The second gen never offered that. Down here you have more buttons. This is for your blind spot monitoring. It has an old school power switch here that I hadn't seen in a lot of Toyotas since like the 90s. So it's interesting that Toyota's actually still using that. Down here there's also a wireless charging pad that was introduced on this generation. If your phone is compatible, which iPhone is not, you can basically just put this into the put your phone on here. It'll start charging it if it's compatible. Down here you also have cup holders. Your USB port is here along with an aux port. Another 12-volt power outlet is there. Now this controls the 6-speed automatic transmission. It's got its own unique shift knob because this is the Pro. It has a manual shift mode here with a sport mode. It gets the job done. We'll go into the driving dynamics later on and see how that goes. You have a traditional, hand parking brake here. And then more cup holders and storage here. The armrest, I'm surprised it's not leather stitched. It is soft touch, and then there is a decent amount of storage in there when you open up this armrest. It also doesn't slide or adjust. Now, you'll notice there is no sunroof on this model, and the reason being is because this has the TRD off-road model's MTS, which is the multi-terrain selector, and it has the crawl control. It's all controlled from this switch here. MTS is the multi-terrain selector, as I said. When you push this, it'll actually show different modes, like a rock, a sand, like a mud mode. Crawl control, this basically allows the vehicle to creep without having to use your foot on the accelerator or the brakes as you guys are going up or just down some steep terrain. So that's definitely nice if you guys plan to actually use this, take this vehicle into serious off-road conditions. That crawl control and the MTS only come on the automatic transmissions. It's not available if you guys go for the stick shift model. Overall, I think the interior of the Tacoma, while it's definitely not luxurious, it's better than Tacomas previously. I just wish that they included a little bit more in terms of tech. I would like to see Toyota update the head unit here, make the screen a little bit larger, include Android Auto and CarPlay when they decide to refresh this truck in the next couple of years. The rear seat of the TRD Pro, you can see, is identical to what you find in a standard double cab Tacoma. The rear seats aren't what I'd call roomy. They're pretty class competitive. You really need to go to a full-size truck if you want even more space. You can see the seats themselves. You can pull this portion out here. You can have a little bit of storage here, or you can just put stuff here if you want to use these for cargo. And then if you pull this here, you can see this folds down. You can put stuff on top of here. You do have to take the headrest out though. If you want to do that, there's a little bit of a hidden storage compartment right there. But putting the seat back where it belongs, getting back here, you can see I'm pretty short. This is where I'd have the seat to drive. The back seat is not bad for me. I imagine people who are taller, over 6 feet, are gonna, definitely prefer something larger that gives you more space. Shutting the door, it sounds just like the front. You have that same material here that's soft touch on the armrest. It's hard touch plastic there. There are no vents back here though. You're gonna have to depend on the vents from the front. Toyota does give you some, cup holders right there. There is no armrest here that folds down, so that's a little bit disappointing. But they do give you one map pocket to give you a little bit more storage. Now Toyota did add a soft close or damped feature for the tailgate with this generation, which is definitely nice. My tester has the optional accessory bed extender for like $300. It definitely makes this 5.5 foot bed a lot more usable if you guys actually do plan to haul some stuff. Mine also has a bed mat and a drop-in bed liner, which is included with this particular trim. Some of the features I really like, there's some nice tie-down areas here. The bed itself is pretty deep. This is a very usable bed. You do even have an inverter here, a 3-prong outlet down here, which is like a 400 watt inverter, which is definitely nice if you guys plan to actually take this vehicle into some campsites where there's no electricity. But overall, the bed's pretty useful. My tester doesn't have any way of getting in and out of the bed that's easier, like there's no tailgate step. But for somebody who plans to use this occasionally to haul stuff, it's definitely going to get the job done. Under the hood, I'm sad to report that Toyota hasn't made any upgrades to give you guys more power. You still have the company's 3.5-liter V6 with their D4S system, which means it runs on the Atkinson cycle to save fuel. It also has direct fuel injection, direct and port injection, basically. The numbers are the same, 278 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque. Obviously, the 4-cylinder, the 2.7, is not available here. This is a truck that doesn't need a 4-cylinder. The V6 is matched up pretty well. It's paired with either that 6-speed automatic, like my Tester, or a 6-speed manual. Now, this truck can still tow about 6,400 pounds, which is pretty class competitive. It weighs around 4,500 pounds, and this engine, luckily, at least runs on regular grade gas. I would love to see Toyota, offer this engine with more power for this trim, but sadly, it doesn't have more power. Fuel economy, luckily, is not bad. It's rated at 18 in the city, 23 on the highway. That's the same fuel economy as all the other trims with this combination, so that's pretty nice. The manual will drop, I believe, to like 1720, so you do get better gas mileage with the automatic transmission. But let's get out on the road and see how it all works, shall we? So when I had the limited model last year, I really liked the way the Tacoma felt. It was very traditional, very old school. It felt like a very solid, capable truck that also had a lot of the, truck-like capabilities or truck-like flaws because it was more that old school feeling. Now, this is my first time driving the TRD Pro, and honestly, just going down the road, it feels like a different truck right off the bat because of those upgraded shocks. You can also feel the fact that this truck is wider and taller. It sits up higher. I think it has probably like 11 inches of ground clearance. The standard Tacoma has like 9.5. This is like seriously one of the tallest vehicles in this smaller truck segment. Now, immediately I'm noticing as well the exhaust. With this TRD Sport exhaust, it sounds appropriately throaty. It's not overwhelming, of course. It makes a nice deeper baritone sound, whereas because this is a smaller V6 versus the previous generation, I noticed the V6 kind of sounded a little bit flat with the standard exhaust, and this TRD Sport exhaust definitely addresses that concern I had. Now, the Tacoma is definitely not a fast truck. I mean, this is still the same 278 horsepower V6. It's still paired with this automatic transmission that honestly is too annoyingly eager to get into its top gear. I much prefer it to be a little bit more responsive. My foot was to the floor there and it wouldn't downshift far enough, but the truck actually does feel like it's a little quicker because mostly of that exhaust. When you floor it like this, you can see it makes a nice noise. This is the typical, Toyota V6. It's smooth. It doesn't really feel that eager to rev, which is interesting because this engine is seriously just a version of the engine we find in like a Lexus IS 350 or a GS 350. And in this application, it feels like a completely different motor in general. But going down the road, this truck actually has a surprisingly good ride quality on the road. Now, even though this is an off-road oriented model, the majority of you guys are probably going to be daily driving this truck, and it actually has a smoother ride than that Limited I showed you. I drove last year. The shocks definitely just absorb the bumps better. This is definitely not a small truck, though. You can feel the fact that it's wider, so it's going to be a little bit more annoying on narrow back roads like this. Now, the Tacoma TRD Pro should get to 60 in about 8 seconds. Now, that actually makes it about a half second slower than the previous 4-liter with the 5-speed automatic. I know it's a little disappointing. It's mostly due to the fact that this engine has less torque than the old 4-liter, and it's got a transmission that seriously just wants to upshift in the name of fuel economy just to get you that better MPG. But going down the road, you can see here, the visibility in here is excellent. You have a great commanding view of the road. The hood scoop does protrude a little bit into your visibility, not that much, but you have big side mirrors, a good view out of the back. The seats also, I find them to be a little flat for me. I wish that Toyota had given us a more aggressive seat. I also hate the fact that the seats don't adjust for height. You do get a lumbar, but it only adjusts forward and back. It has a recline, so it's really only like a 4-way adjustable seat plus the lumbar, which is a little bit frustrating. The steering wheel also doesn't come out far enough. It's telescoping, but I'd like it to pull out a little bit further because I find that, when I have it far enough back where my legs are a good distance from the pedals, the steering wheel is too far away. But you know, this is a truck, so I'm not going to be talking too much about its handling. It's a secure handling vehicle. The steering is very, very light. It's also very slow. It's truck steering, basically. But, you know, going around some of these back roads, staying on the road, the Tacoma TRD Pro basically doesn't edge you on to go faster. It's perfectly fine, but you're not going to be taking corners super aggressively. But then again, the standard Tacoma wasn't like that either. But I'm just really impressed with the ride quality of this truck. It's a very civilized ride, and you can really feel the fact that this truck can really handle those, you know, high-speed excursions if you guys plan to take this thing onto some, you know, nice off-road trails where you're going to be going relatively fast. Now, I am annoyed with the fact that, you know, there isn't really any driver assistance tech. Chevy is starting to offer it on the Colorado, or basically the GM twins are offering a couple things. I'd like to see Toyota upgrade that. They are basically pushing their Toyota Safety Sense Plus on their cars, but not necessarily their trucks, which is an interesting, you know, decision on their part. But, you know, overall, I really like the way this feels. It's a very, very capable feeling truck. It feels very durable. It feels very solid. And, you know, being a Tacoma, a Toyota, it has that solid reputation for reliability and resale value. Really love that TRD Sport exhaust. That's definitely the best part about the TRD Pro for sure. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the brakes in this truck, because the truck has rear drum brakes, which are definitely annoying. Toyota says they did that for durability and for cheaper service costs when you guys actually do need to, you know, service the drums. They're also enclosed, so stuff's not going to be caught in the calipers or the rotors or whatnot. I definitely feel the fact that the brake pedal feel is a little bit soft in this truck. It requires just a strong press of the brake, and I find with these, you know, off-road all-terrain tires, the truck definitely will screech its wheels pretty easily when I wasn't even trying to. But again, those are kind of the downfalls when you kind of elevate the off-road capability. The on-road dynamics kind of fall a little bit, so you're going to be, you know, knowing that when you purchase this model. I recommend the TRD Sport if you guys plan to just keep this truck mostly on the road and barely take it off-road. But let's talk a little about the fuel economy here. I actually was averaging around 18 miles per gallon in mostly mixed driving, which is right on bang on with the city numbers. That's not bad MPG for a truck that honestly isn't aerodynamic. All this off-road tech makes it less aerodynamic, and it makes it heavier. On the highway, I pushed it around to 22 miles per gallon. Not bad. When you compare this truck to its main competitor, the Chevy Colorado ZR2, the Chevy only gets 16-18 with the V6, 19-22, I believe, if you get the diesel, which is like a $3,500 option. Now, speaking of which, let's talk a little about the price of this particular model. The Tacoma TRD Pro starts at around $42,000 with the 6-speed manual. That's basically all equipped. If you guys want the automatic, it's going to be another $2,000 more. My tester all in is around just under $45,000, like $44,800 with destination. It also has like that bed extender for $300. Now that makes it pretty expensive for a Tacoma for sure, a $45,000 truck. Keep in mind, the Colorado ZR2 also starts at around $42,000, and with all the options that Chevy offers on that, you can easily push the price of that to close to $50,000 if you guys go for the diesel and get all the, you know, options and accessories. Now, at this $45,000 price, it actually only is about $4,500 more than a comparable, you know, TRD off-road model. Of course, the TRD off-road isn't as capable as this. It doesn't have quite as many features. A limited is like $3,000 cheaper than this particular trim. I really like the TRD Pro. I think it has really nice looking aesthetics. It's got the capability to back up the looks. It's got a better ride quality. I like the leather interior, even though the seats aren't really all that, you know, great. I am sad at the fact that it doesn't have a sunroof. I would like to see a sunroof. I'd also like to see, you know, Toyota kind of give this truck more power just to differentiate it from the rest of the lineup. But again, the price is reasonable, so I think it's a great, you know, off-road ready truck that's right off the showroom floor. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2017 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. If you're in the market for a mid-sized truck that's basically turnkey Baja ready, this is definitely one of the strongest entries. Actually, it's one of two entries in the segment. It comes with that typical Toyota reliability and resale value. So if that's very important to you, you love the Tacoma, I highly recommend putting this truck at the top of your list. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm driving, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.